Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to the newest edition of Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette. On this week's episode, we have the head instructor and owner of Red River Traditional Tae Kwon Do in Fargo, North Dakota, Jim Grimestad, on the show. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Good to talk to you.
So for a lot of people who don't know, let's just kind of go back to the beginning. Do you remember, first of all, as a child, and I think you started Tae Kwon Do at the age of around 11 or 12, if I remember?
Correct. I started at 11.
Okay. So before that, was there something that sparked your interest in martial arts? Was there like a movie, a TV show, something you saw?
A lot of people my age remember watching Kung Fu, and I had two older brothers who were taking Shotokan at NDSU, and I couldn't take it there, so the only other place to go was there was one martial arts school, Tae Kwon Do school in town, and that was Grandmaster Jim and Northwest Karate School. Tae Kwon Do, yeah.
That was the only one at the time?
That was it. There was somebody, George Funny, I think was the gentleman's name. I know. Teaching out of the Y. And just as far as accreditation, Grandmaster Jim was the legitimate thing. But seeing my older brothers, do it, and they're wearing their Japanese gi and hitting each other, I wanted to do it, but there was no way I could, so...
So what was that first class? Do you remember that first class when you walked in, what it was like, what your experience and memories?
It was things that we would never get away with now. We did sparring. My first class, no uniform. I remember hurting my fingers really bad because somebody did a front kick and I tried to block downward with my fingertips, not having been taught how to properly. We have no protection, no nothing. It was different. The reason I knew about Master Yun was... I'm trying to remember the name. Bacchus, I think was the name of the writer for the forum at that time, did an interview with him. And in the interview, which I still have, the clipping, talked about watching Master Yun slap a boy across the face because he was crying. And nobody batted an eye. That was then. So walking into the gym and sparring the first day, that kind of stuff was no big deal.
This would have been, early 80s, late 70s?
1978. Yeah, okay. September of 78. I remember it well.
Wow. And then how long before your first test back then? Was it kind of the same time frame as now, or how much different was it?
Tested for your white belt at that time. So wow. Tested for your white belt. And I think that was a 1 month. 1 month in, and did 4-way pattern, if you remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes.
So then what was it about that school that made you stick with it and want to continue to doing it?
I have no idea. Honestly, I look back now as an instructor, as somebody who works hard to make that balance between discipline and fun, and I look at how we did push-ups on the hot tarmac in the parking lot as kids, running barefoot with bricks on our shoulders down the barefoot down the P-Rock alleyways. I don't know. There weren't a lot of us. Grandmaster Yun was a independently wealthy man. He did not. He told parents to their face, this is a house of discipline. If you don't like it, go someplace else. There was no place else. He knew that. So why I stayed with, I honestly don't know. But I, as a martial artist, have to be business owner as well. I can't do that anymore. There's so many options here in town. I have to get that balance between apparently very masochistic kids like myself who did not mind bloody knuckles from doing push-ups on bricks. But it's the kids who aren't as crazy as I was, who need the discipline, and I have no idea why I stayed in. That's the short part.
Well, that's good, though. Obviously paid over. In the long run, it was the best decision, obviously.
It's 1978, so it'll be coming up on 42 years.
So then what level before you started kind of assisting and helping teach class?
I think it was red belt.
Oh,
and
wow.
Grandmaster Jim had somebody, Tim Cody, teaching. He was one of the assistants at the gym, and then he started his own branch school just across the river, and he needed help on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I helped out there. And then I was at Mass June's on Monday, Wednesdays, and a Saturday morning classes. So
wow. And when was it that you decided that it was something you thought you wanted to do maybe for the rest of your life?
I don't recall. I just remember I still have sketches. I love to draw, so I've had sketches of how my gym was going to be laid out and how my school was going to be. And I don't know if it was looking at how cool Rich Johnson and Tim Cody and Don Nelson, how cool those guys were, and I couldn't wait to grow up to be like them, not knowing that but I would just want to be an instructor. It was just that's what I was going to do. So this was my college, this was my education, this was my degree was going to be. I didn't need to fall back on anything else.
And then what kind of describe your first black belt test? What age? And do you remember some of the stuff you had to do during that test?
I have the complete list. I have the Grandmaster June. Oh, wow. Yeah. Master June sent out, gave us a letter. And so I have the letter with, what we need, what time to be there, what, the requirements were. And and I believe it was March 3rd of 82. I have the letter, but definitely 82. And some of the things that you are familiar with, some of the series, whether it's 21 movement, 22 movement, working series, all the patterns, sparring, lots of breaking. At that time, he had a very small gym. His gym, for those who are familiar with the Fargo Moorhead area, is 312 North University Drive, and it's has been a little tax place. It's been
wasn't it Roses to Go at one point?
Roses to Go, I think it was, yeah. And I used to when we go jogging, bring the students down there, and they have them kind of pace off. And with our current gym, we have square mats that are meters, and they are, we match out. It's about 8 meters, long, and about 5 meters. We could literally touch your hand on one side, reach out, touch your hand on one side, and do a jump kick and hit your partner on the other side of the room. And frequently had to worry about keeping your guard up because it wasn't your partner who might accidentally hit you, it was the guy next to you. There were times, Master June was very, very good, had lots of students, so there were times where Saturday morning classes, especially, I remember having half the class would have to sit down so this half could practice and then switch. And this, anyhow. So
it's changed a little bit.
Things
That's even smaller than your Broadway school that you had.
Yeah, yes.
That was pretty small too. So
no, that was, yep. So as far as the testing, I remember there was 13 of us packed into.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember the test. I remember who was there.
So all the black belt level tests you've done over the years, which one do you think was the hardest physically? They've all hopefully been good and challenging that way. I don't know if anyone seriously really stands out. The most taxing, I think, was this. Perhaps my 7th degree when I went to tested in Korea for my 7th degree. Did not know it at the time, but I had a broken ankle. We were, it was fun. Recently, last September, I went to Korea again for my 8th degree, and it was a blast. It was horrible, hard, wonderful, torturous exercise every day. I had a chance to work with the head forms instructor of the Kukiwan, a gentleman who is shorter than myself. He must be about 5'4" or so, and watching him break a baseball bat with his forearm, doing just a block. So why that was difficult was because every time I would do something incorrectly, he would hit my arm or hit my leg. Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah, so it was very good old school fun. It was fantastic. It was as a martial artist, I think what you look for that kind of perfection and discipline. But it was physically taxing because I would have bruises and aches, and it was fun.
So now, at what point did you realize how much you enjoyed sparring? So I know for a long time that's kind of what you were known for.
Yeah, I enjoyed it immensely. I look back at the decades, and for the first, I say, 10 years of being a black belt, loved sparring. And it wasn't a tournament, I wouldn't go to, and there was one person, Master Tom Lamb, one guy I could never defeat. Anybody else? There's nobody else. So I'd purposely go to any tournament I could if I knew Tom was going to be there, just for a chance to spar him, which was so much fun.
How many times did you spar him? Do you remember? Rough guess?
No. I maybe 5 or 6 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And he was Park Rapids, right?
Correct.
I believe?
Yeah,
okay.
correct. Yeah.
So I knew the name sounded familiar. So.
Oh, just a phenomenal tactician, just so fast, so good. And his students as well, I've always enjoyed. And my only thing I was ever proud of was I was always able to beat his students. But so for the first, say, 10 years, sparring was just it for me. But there comes I'd like to think a time of maturity where you go from doing to wanting to teach, doing, and either I can be really, really good, or I can spend my time making sure 5 or 6 other people do good at a tournament and work with them. And I don't know. So still enjoy sparring. I think the last time I did was Grandmaster Jim never wanted us to fight after 4th degree. He said it was time to retire. But I think the last time I sparred was in a Bismarck tournament. I was 5th degree. I don't know, maybe as far as competition was.
If I remember, too, wasn't there one point you did a kickboxing match too?
Yes, I did. Involuntary. There was somebody dropped out. And, it was at Wahpeton. It was a kickboxing match, and they said, "So we can get you some pants. We can get you."
I actually remember that match. That's why, and what I get a kick out of it, I still remember it vividly, is that the other guy you were going against, obviously, had never done this before in his life, and you were actually coaching and teaching him as you were trying to beat him.
He was trying to be nice. We were trying to be nice, and I was also trying not to get my nose broken, because I didn't have a mouth guard. It was just can you get in there? So my guard was high, my guard was up, and yes, I remember several times kicking him and then holding back and watching him be just a little woozy. But I don't know how prepared he was, but he was prepared for a fight. I was just there to judge that day until I was told, "Would you fight?"
That's funny. And then what about breaking? That's another thing you were kind of known for. You always kind of enjoyed doing, and you've done some pretty crazy breaks over the years. Where did that just come from? Normal competition? And
that came from trying to see it as the art side. I really enjoyed just being creative as far as breaking it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I that's where I excelled, and I really try and pass that with my students. I remember perhaps you were there, Grandmaster Jim's retirement.
In Wilmer?
No, actually one here in Fargo. He did one in Fargo, and that's where I first did throwing an apple up in the air and breaking it with a backspin, and throwing an apple up in the air and breaking it with 360 roundhouse. And initially I threw a board up in the air and broke it. That got a little easy. So, and then the triple front kick I was working the triple front kick as far as talking about enjoying breaking, jumping up and kicking 3 boards, breaking before you land. And that got a little too easy, so I decided to add 2 punches in there at the same time. And there was one tournament, I always thought it was funny. People were always scrambling to find holders. So I thought, what if I did 10 boards with no holders? I'll hold it for myself. So 1 in each hand, jump up, double front kick, break 1 with each foot at the same time, throw 1 up in the air, break it.
Wow.
Yeah. Just trying to do stuff that is different. Breaking doesn't have to be power. Breaking and speed is a whole different thing. And I don't know, just do something fun.
Yeah, I remember some of the apple breaks in class we practiced one time, but I wasn't at that first retirement. I was at the one in Wilmer, and it was the first time I met you. It was actually right before I started in your school. It was, I think, March of 94, February 94. And it was an interesting day. So I
was fortunate. Grandmaster had his retirement here in Fargo. It was a competition, so I still have that plaque. I won that demonstration competition. But no, I enjoy take a brick and went to a demonstration once with bricks, but just 1 holder, 1 stanchion, one stand. And I remember somebody thought, did you forget the other one? No, if I put the bricks so they hang over the edge and I hit them fast enough, they'll break. So that was fun. Or turning bricks on their side and breaking them the long way, or I should say, breaking them so the thick way instead of downwards. There's so many. As I say, to me, that's the art part, and anybody can hit just fast. But can you drop a board and break it before it hits the ground? That's fun.
I never enjoyed breaking until I started training with you.
Thank you.
And I actually remember the first time I ever broke a brick in my life. I had never done one, and we were doing a demonstration at the Ada Fair. Mm-hmm. And the morning of the demonstration, you said, "Mr. Bryan, you're breaking 3 bricks today with your forearm." I said, "Yes, sir." I'd never done 1 before, and you had me do 3. So you had more confidence in me than I had in myself at the time.
Well, one story about my own daughter, Rose, one of our black belts, one of our assistants, was that she was helping out with a test and had a very large, and by that I mean, stout, big red belt. He couldn't break 1 brick forearm. 1 brick forearm, just couldn't do it, and it's so psychological. So I, hopefully to spur him on, not to make him feel bad, but said, "Rose, set up 8 bricks." "Yes, sir." And walked over. Petite young lady. At that point, I bet she was 15. And 8 bricks with her elbow, and just like it was nothing. Breaking is, as you discovered, it's
very mental.
I have so many people who will come from other schools, other disciplines, other styles, high-ranking black belts from a different style, and never have broken a brick, or a break that we'll have our kids do is something that they did for black belt. And breaking is not only a huge confidence thing, but I always equate it. I remember the late Vern Borgen just died here recently. Fantastic judo instructor who I've included in our school here many years back. Said, I don't understand why you guys break stuff. And for me, it's the same as archery or rifle. You hit a target. You want to see how accurate you are. You're not going to know until you hit something. So how many boards can I break? How many bricks can I break? What kind of power do I have? And that equates to, if I can break 3 bricks with this, then that's one of your ribs.
I think one of my favorite breaks I ever saw, well, probably my second favorite was Master Don Larson doing was it 5 or 6 boards through a chest protector with his punch. That man had so much power.
Oh, an amazing guy. And he's an example of working with your strengths. Master Don knows he will not do an in-the-air backspin or 540 degree. But yes, if put a chest protection around 5 boards, punch it, and it breaks. And that's damage.
That's beyond impressive.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the first time I didn't believe he was going to do it, but I had been punched by him before, but not that hard. Exactly. Yeah, not that hard. No, he obviously was holding back when he punched me in class. So that was.
I'd like to think that's the idea as far as a martial artist is that you have a weapon that nobody can see. I can put up with a lot of abuse because I know, like Don knows, he can do that kind of damage if he has to. I don't have to be cornered. I don't have to be pushed. I don't have to be. I know if I can put up with a lot of abuse because at the last moment, if I need to, I have a weapon that can do a lot of damage. But it's nothing that you want to panic about.
Right.
And I better fight my way out of this situation. No, I don't need to. I'm good.
So let me ask you that then. In 42 years, have you ever had to use any of your training in a real life situation?
Yeah, there's always, and it's. But that idea of, once again, we spar all the time, we fight all the time, we hit all the time. We do this constantly. So you pick up on when somebody is going to throw a kick, a punch, is getting agitated, is getting worked up. But you also know I don't need to match it. I found out a long time ago, if somebody tries to hit you and you block it or whatnot, then the second or third one comes. Sometimes somebody pushes you, shoves you, hits you. Take it, because it's not going to escalate from there. Or if it does, you know what to do very quickly. But yeah, if somebody wants to, yes, yes, I have. But most of the time, you can talk your way out of things because you have the confidence to know that I do this every day. This guy's trying to start a fight. He doesn't know what could happen.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then over the years, obviously your school's grown in size, and just the number of kids in general and people in general, the interest in martial arts has kind of exploded. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think when I first started training, you maybe had, 5 or 7 adult students and maybe 12 to 15 total kid students.
Yeah,
and now it's, in the hundreds probably.
Yes. Yeah.
So what do you think has changed as far as interest level in martial arts? Have you seen anything that you think has spiked the interest level for me, you, it was Kung Fu. For me, it was, the Karate Kid, younger kids, it was maybe the Power Rangers. So is there something you think, is it UFC type stuff coming out? Is it video games? What's sparking the interest?
I think there is a more of a prevalence now. There is. We were just talking about it the other day, that 30 years ago, 20 years ago, I had people call about class and would say, this isn't a religion, is it? What is this weird thing that all really, really common, because it was such a weird thing, this martial arts, and we only hear about the mysticism part of it, and, Kung Fu didn't help with that, him being a monk. But I think now it has become commonplace, normal. Now it's not this weird thing anymore. You take it for granted that this is a good thing for kids for discipline, a good thing for adults for self-defense. And
like you said, when you first started, there was one school, and now within a 20-mile radius of Fargo Moorhead, there's 35 schools or more.
I know.
A lot of competition, I suppose.
I know.
But it's also good, though, obviously. And competition can be good.
It does.
So,
yes. As we've talked about with other places, sometimes the best selling point for your gym is how bad somebody else was or mistreated. So, and yeah, sometimes it's we had a real bad experience over there, and it's nice to have people able to shop around.
So a total stranger asks you for advice on what to look for in a martial arts school, what to look for in an instructor. What are some pointers you might give them? Just maybe not specifically about your school, but just in general. And that's just it. Is I really try not to. I'm a horrible salesperson. What are you looking for? Are you looking for self-discipline, self-control? Are you looking to become a competitor? Are you looking for weight loss? Is it for a child? Is it for an adult? Try and first figure out what it is, because there's so many different styles. There's different
things that they're looking for. If it's a child with autism, child with disability of some sort, and we have classes just for that, obviously. But where they are in the spectrum, if it's discipline, then that's something that I really try and focus in on. I started when I was 11, as I say, and I'm really happy. I had the advantage of I saw how Master Jim taught kids, and I saw how he taught adults. So I've done both, and they do teach them differently. I never would mix the classes for that reason. I've had people want to know if they can take classes with their 8-year-old, and it's not going to be the same. We're going to work on self-discipline with them, and we're going to teach you how to break a neck. Little things I don't want to teach 8-year-olds.
Like the good old days.
Yes. Martial arts. Grandmaster Jim was big with that. I remember asking him if he considered himself a Tae Kwon Do instructor or a Hapkido master, or I'm a martial artist, and that's just it. It doesn't matter what the name is, what you're doing, but martial artist is a whole genre, a whole different way of life, I guess.
One thing you're kind of known for, and I've talked to a lot of parents of students that they really appreciate, is when it comes close to testing time, you always send a slip home with the parents, and I'm paraphrasing, but it says something to the effect of, has your child been doing well in school? Yes or no? And has your child been respectful at home? Yes or no? And if either one is no, they don't get to test.
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of parents appreciate that. I'm sure you probably also had some pushback from parents on it too.
Not a single, no, seriously.
Really? Wow.
No, not at
Okay.
all. Because they're in control that way. And as I tell the kids all the time, no mom and dad has ever called and said, I really would like my child to learn how to break bricks with their head. Could you please teach my child how to beat up other kids? No, it's always, my son needs discipline. My daughter needs self-control. So, many years back, he had a wonderful little red belt young lady and young girl, and her mom said, well, we're not going to let her test because she pushed over her teacher. Her teacher was bent over to do something, and she shoved her. She's the most well-disciplined, wonderful little girl in class. And it dawned on me, the perception kids have of me here in the gym, yes, sir, no, sir, anything for you, sir. And then I'll see them argue with mom and dad as they change their clothes and get ready to walk out. And I started to think, okay, I'm not seeing the real kid then. So we teach the tenets of Tae Kwon Do, the first one being courtesy, and the tenets of the Hwarang, and the third being respect your parents and elders. So that's on that slip that you said. So I'll started to make this permission slip, and it's something I've done for decades now. But exactly that and the moms and dads will use that as a carrot and a stick, and awesome. Anything that will make a kid better. That's what this is all about. Nobody's trying to turn their little guy into a fighter. And
right.
I've had fortunate enough to have students who haven't seen him since they were a little kid, and I'll run into them someplace. They say, because of you, because of the discipline, because of this or that, and those are the things. So that discipline method of, are you good at home? I'll tell the kids, I don't love you. I don't tuck you in. I didn't buy you, your clothes. I didn't feed you. Mom and dad did. So why are you calling me sir, but you're yelling at, them? So
that's good. So you ever think of sending that permission slip home for spouses too in the adult class?
It might be bad, but funny.
Probably get a lot less people testing probably if you do that. So what are your thoughts on the whole MMA thing since that started in the early 90s?
Guilty pleasure. I love watching it, but just watching some last night with my lovely wife, and watching two people elbowing each other in the head until one was unconscious. And knowing that people like Anthony Johnson said he retired because he was starting to forget his kid's name. It's a guilty pleasure. Enjoy watching it, but also knowing that there's some damage there. I teach the adult students to fight if they are attacked. We wear protective equipment so that we don't get CTE. To do this, also see right now in the media, a lot of the fighters are complaining about how little they're paid. Paige Van Zandt saying she gets paid more for Instagram, and her one showing up on Dancing with the Stars got paid more than she ever got in her entire career. Then look at the amount of damage that these guys take, and how many kids think they're going to be Conor McGregor and make all this money, and it doesn't happen. We both from this area know people who flourished, made a lot of money, and then dried up. Where are you now with a aching body, and didn't go to college because you're going to be an MMA fighter?
Right.
Guilty pleasure. Love watching it. Love seeing what works and doesn't work, as everybody else does, but yet wish it wasn't so damaging. So
now you mentioned the tenets of Tae Kwon Do, tenets of the Fargo Open Do. Is there one of the tenets or one of the philosophies of martial arts that you kind of really hold dear to your heart, or is they all kind of same importance for you?
For me, I try and tell the kids the word tenet itself, meaning something that upholds everything else. Without it, there's the pole taken away from a tent, it just collapses. So the tenets, I think, are all very necessary. If you don't have self-control, you've got nothing. Tell the kids, jails are full of people who didn't have self-control. I hit him because I wanted to. I stole it because I wanted to. Courtesy, it's just it changes your life. Black belt that we both know, Master Jerry. Remember one time we used to hang out frequently, especially when we were around testing time, and he said, "I started saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am to waitresses like you do. It's amazing. They'll bring you whatever you, just when you're courteous, it changes everything."
I'm picturing Jerry doing that, and it's spot on.
Oh yeah, I love that guy. Yes, I tell you, it's not accidental that those are called our tenets. But yeah, whether it's discipline to put yourself through absolute hell and do things to your body that you don't want to. I'm tired. Well, too bad. Be courteous. I don't feel like it. Well, too bad. All the tenets, I think, are life-changing. Just
a couple last few questions, just kind of some fun ones to wrap it up on. Do you have a favorite martial arts book? Is there one that stands out? Or I know you're a big reader like me, so.
I have no problem with the cockroaches under the sink in Tae Kwon Do. A book called A Killing Art. Absolutely fantastic. And when I started, I was told, Tae Kwon Do is 2,000 years old. And it's, every time I go to Korea, I'll see modifications go to the museum, and I'll see what used to show Japanese influence. Now the museum slowly removed that exhibit. And A Killing Art is exactly that. It shows how General Hung Hee-chae, who brought together under military rule the 9 different original branches of martial art, then Tang Soo Do said, no thanks, we'll be on our own. Forced them together primarily. Great book. And if you are willing to look at all of the scabs, if you're willing to look at all of that fantastic history of the martial art and all of its ugliness.
I read that by your recommendation, so it is a very, very good book. And then favorite, 1 or 2 answers depending on you, favorite martial arts movie and or favorite martial arts TV show. You can list more than one if you want to.
Oh no, it's not. It's not that. It's just the opposite. It's actually so few martial arts movies have I been happy with. They're the early ones that everybody watched, whether it was Bloodsport or whatnot. And look back at them now, and cringeworthy.
I just watched Bloodsport 2 weeks ago, sir.
A lot of the movies don't hold for me. A lot of them are, they're shoehorned in a plot over and over again. It was Enter the Dragon, just with Van Damme.
What about A Fighter in the Wind? I know that's one you've recommended me. That's a great movie.
Liked it because it is semi-biographical of Shiro Soni, a famous Korean fighter. Enjoyed that one. House of Daggers. There's several Ang Lee's, whether it's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and whatnot. I enjoy those. I think that they're fun to watch, and they don't just try and cram in as many fight scenes perhaps as possible. But yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with anything with Jackie Chan.
You a fan of the Ip Man series that was out?
Yeah, I think it plays obviously fast and loose, and a little xenophobic with the Japanese versus the Chinese, and not a big fan. Donnie Yen, love his
yes.
All those guys are fantastic and fun to watch, and amazing guys. But I don't know. I can't really pick a favorite martial arts movie because there's majority of them are
bad.
Yeah.
What about TV show?
Martial Law was fun back in the time. I was
just watching that the other day. It's on HNI now. So I've been kind of getting reacquainted with that, with Sammo Hung.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Love him. No, same thing. There were very few. Yeah. I love the martial arts, but not in media. I don't think I've found any real good martial arts movies that brought all my kids up, my children all being black belts, and I don't think there's one that I'd have them sit down and, this is great. This is a great representation of martial arts.
Did you ever watch the show Street Justice when it was on? I remember that was a guilty pleasure of mine in the early 90s with Carl Weathers and Brian Genesee.
No, I have to say
it was actually lasted 3 seasons, surprisingly, but Brian Genesee was a Hungar Kung Fu spice, and Carl Weathers was a cop, and they kind of teamed up or something like that. But your typical cheesy buddy martial arts show, but it was a guilty pleasure.
There's so many, whether it was or others, they're shaking the tree to find somebody who does martial arts, and can we capitalize that? throw a plot in here.
That is true. Kind of last, parting thoughts, just why you think martial arts is important.
For me, I think, especially in the early stages with kids, just the discipline. And there was a time I would ask the kids, okay, we're going to do hard exercise today. What have you been doing? Oh, football, soccer, on the riding bike, Fortnite, Roblox, Fortnite. Exercise, discipline, things that, and I hate to say things that perhaps mom and dad used to do, demand discipline, and now don't do so much anymore. So for the kids, exercise, discipline, not so much the martial art aspect as far as fighting, but the idea of push yourself. Having little kids raise their hand and say, sir, I'm sweaty, like it's a bad thing. Absolutely hilarious. So for me, to raise a generation of kids that are willing to work hard, willing to do push-ups on bricks, on their knuckles, and not give up. And for the adults, many times, amazing students I have, Mr. Oscar and yourself, who had kids in class, and Mr. Oscar and some others who put their kids initially in class because, like a lot of moms and dads, I'd like my kids to exercise, but not for me. Guys like Mr. Oscar started with his kids, watched his kids, and then decided this is for me. He outlasted his kids. Kids decided maybe this was a little too tough, and my meanest, toughest students, the older students, whether it's surviving cancer or surviving teenage daughters, nothing kills them. So for the adults, I call it concussive therapy. I'm going to try and patent that. Hitting somebody feels so good at the end of a long, hard day of work.
That is true.
It just, we're sparring tonight for that reason. I know students on a Monday really want to hit somebody.
That's great. Well, sir, I just want to thank you again for taking the time to sit down with us and kind of give us a little bit about your background and some of the, just your interest and everything to do with the martial arts. I truly appreciate it, sir.
I love it, and it's been a pleasure knowing you for
26, 1990, March of 94, I started with you, sir. It's been a while. Thank you again, sir.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.